Time to talk.
Good afternoon, Westchester. It's 12 noon on this beautiful Wednesday, and that means it's time to talk with me, Jen Graziano. I'm a licensed funeral director who oversees my family's funeral homes, Cox and Graziano of both Mamaroneck and Greenwich, and the Zion Memorial Chapel of Westchester. Every Wednesday, I come to you discussing important topics and sensitive matters that all of us need to think about at some point, and through this show, I hope to provide a platform to do so. If you are joining us this afternoon on 1460 WVUX, we will take your questions, comments, and calls to our guests at 914-636-0110. And welcome back, Facebook Live viewers. We're back again for our noontime show. Any questions to our guests can come directly here, and the great Tim Judge, the master of Facebook, will be relaying them to us. And the master behind the phones is Gerald Bell, our producer. Great hands we're in today. Welcome, ladies, my guest from MyElderAdvocate. This is, when I heard the title of your business, I really thought this is something, I'm very passionate about taking care of seniors and making sure they have optimal quality of life. And there are so much information that they don't have access to. There are so many resources that you can have now to help guide you through the process of nursing homes, home care, care management, case management. You don't have to go it alone, and you have a lot of extra people who can do your homework for you. Right. That's where MyElderAdvocate comes in. I'd like both of my guests to introduce themselves and talk a bit about your backgrounds and how MyElderAdvocate came to be.
My name is Susie Cabanas.
I'm Ruthyn Sgaglio.
And tell us a little bit about what MyElderAdvocate is and how you came to find it.
Ruthyn and I met in 2002, actually, in court reporting school.
In Westchester?
In Westchester, in White Plains. We've been court reporters since. We're both a little burned out for various reasons, and we've been best friends since then, and we decided we wanted to do something else, something separate.
But why in the field of senior care? Was there an incident, a triggering event? Did you go through something with a parent? Did you have a friend who was in need of some help dealing with a nursing home or a care? Why this field?
We knew we wanted something service-oriented. We didn't really know how, but that we did know that. So I suggested to Ruthyn that we go to a franchise show in the city, just only because me and my ex-husband, we owned a franchise ourselves. And so we decided to go to the expo in Manhattan and see what was out there, and we came across MyElderAdvocate.
Explain what in fact you are. You are advocates in every sense of the word. And this morning when I was on air with Bob Marone talking about today's show, I said who you were, and I said one of the topics we were going to talk about were nursing home evictions. And that word in and of itself is frightening. The word eviction in any circumstance, you know, it's not a great word. It really invokes some fearfulness. Right. But it's a real thing. And I think that what you're referring to are premature discharges from nursing homes, right, likely because of insurance reasons and coverage reasons. But I'd like you to explain specifically what you do so we can connect to our audience out there today.
Okay. So there's 1.4 nursing home residents in the United States.
1.4
million residents
okay.
in nursing homes. There's 8,000 to 9,000 discharges, illegal evictions every year. Most residents don't know their rights. There's very few reasons that you can be discharged from a nursing home. For example, if your health is in jeopardy, or your health can affect the other residents in the nursing home, or you no longer need nursing home care. What are the other reasons?
If you're a disturbance to the other residents,
right.
If you're mentally incapacitated and you put yourself in danger or other residents in danger, that's a valid
require
reason.
A different skill. So what you're saying is there have to be reasons for a nursing home to discharge.
And there's really only 6.
Right. And there's not many.
No.
So, but a lot of times, you know, with the insurance climate that we're in, there's only certain things that will be covered. There's only up to so many days. You know, Medicare is only going to cover 100 days.
Right.
And then people just assume I have Medicare, I'm set. And then comes the question of Medicaid. And applying for Medicaid is a full-time job in and of itself. It affects my line of work in the funeral home because part of the requirements are that people have to make pre-funded funeral arrangements.
Right.
And you watch what they go through, you watch the paperwork process, as well as the misinformation out there. It's a nightmare for many people.
I can share an anecdote about a client that we had
Sure.
in the city. This particular client had lived in his assisted living for 9 years. And the entire 9 years, he was in a wheelchair. This client got ill and had to be taken to the hospital. So he was in the hospital for a bit, and after the hospital, he had to go to rehab. And he was in rehab. Now, in the meantime, the wife was paying to keep his bed. Private. So, again, he'd lived there for 9 years. So he went to the rehab. They went to see if he was capable of coming back in the same condition as when he left, which was ambulating in the wheelchair. And he was. Except now all of a sudden the assisted living facility said, no, we can't accommodate the wheelchair anymore. Why? He's been in a wheelchair for 9 years.
Exactly. And it's a common thing, you would think, to be in that.
Also, they claimed that there was paperwork missing. Now, if it had to do with Medicaid, they're obligated to help you reapply. Obligated. Nobody had told the wife, you need to reapply. Meanwhile, she had been paying privately the whole time to hold his bed. So she calls us in a panic.
What can you do? How can you be of help or reference in a case like that?
Well, usually it's not a valid reason, sadly, and they don't know this. They're in a crisis. She's in panic mode. She doesn't know the rules. She doesn't know what's legal or illegal.
So do you go to the nursing home administrative staff? Does it become some type of legal battle? I mean, what is the protocol? Let's take patient X, and they're about to be prematurely discharged when the care is still needed. They contact you. You gather the information, you take in the case history, you do an assessment, and you see this person, in fact, needs to remain there.
Right.
What is your next step? Do you go right to a supervisor's office?
Yes.
We showed up the next day.
Okay.
We can show up usually within 48 hours, if not the next day.
Okay. Is there any type of actions that you threaten, or what is the protocol when you get that meeting with the supervisor? What happens from that point?
We like to find out what's going on, what's the reason. Why are you evicting this person? And for that reason, it was about the wheelchair. Which...
So now it's something unsatisfactory, it's something illegal. What's your next step?
So we showed up, and the administrator was not there. We spoke to the social worker. The social worker called the administrator. We got her on the phone. And Jack, our CEO, was with me. She was out of town at that day, I believe. And we asked them, well, show us this supposed paperwork that you gave the wife that she didn't fill out. They didn't have that.
Right.
Why can't he come back in a wheelchair? He's been in a wheelchair all this time. Hemming and hawing, they really couldn't give us a reason. But the interesting part was that all of a sudden the paperwork problem was going to go away and the wheelchair issue was going to go away if she agreed to pay 30% more for his bed.
Then he could use a wheelchair.
Then he could use a wheelchair, and then the paperwork...
Wait a second. Now that in and of itself sounds...
Illegal.
It's like extortion,
yes.
Which is illegal.
Right.
And it's not me speaking as an attorney; it's me speaking as a human being. That's
Exactly.
from that point. So what do you do? How do you agree to those illegal conditions? I mean, it is amazing that all of a sudden their care and concerns go away. And what's more alarming is this: I'm sure this is not an isolated incident.
Right.
I'm sure this
happens all
rampant.
the time. Right.
And the need for an advocate is so important. And I always say you have to be your own advocate in life. However, you need a trusted team around you. When you're of advanced age, it's, some people like to think they could do it on their own, and the loss of independence always presents that struggle.
Right.
But there's no shame in asking for help. And I think it's important for adult children to know, as you're balancing the issues of your own careers and caring for your young families while caring for your aging parents, it's not a crime to enlist for help. You just gave a valid example of a person who would have been kicked out of a nursing home, but for your intervention. But I want to go back to how you mitigate this, that the person can still remain there and not have to pay unnecessary additional money.
Well, once we pointed out basically the illegality of what they were doing, because they're not used to people coming in and knowing what they're talking about and challenging it, because people don't know about us.
And also, you're stressed out. You're in a nursing home, or you have your mom or dad in one, and you're not going to question.
Right.
You're in a very vulnerable position.
Right.
You're just going to do what it takes to keep them with the care.
And she had the foresight to, I believe she called her attorney
And the Department of Health.
and the Department of Health.
Ah.
And they showed
so
up.
magically
But-
the wheelchair requirement went away.
All gone.
Well,
welcome back.
What's interesting is that the Department of Health normally doesn't show up lickety split, but we were there that day, and lo and behold, the Department of Health showed up. So between
Really?
the four of us,
Well, the squeaky wheel, gets the grease, but you really they're an oddly inefficient department, I must say.
well,
But,
actually these
they regulate us too, in my feeling.
right. So these two ladies, they pulled us into a conference room, Jack and I and the wife, and they said, "Tell us what's happening." And so we told them. And then when we got to the part where Jack said, "Oh, and by the way, they told her if she paid 30% more that the issues would go away." She took off her glasses and she said, "What?" Problem solved. It was a no-brainer.
And then at that point, the sad part is, do you really want your loved one in that facility?
Right.
Because then, do you ever
He had
get a
lived
good
there
night's
for 9
sleep?
years. He
Well,
had friends
that's
there.
true. Okay,
That's his
then
home.
that's the
Right.
answer. Then yes, you did.
It was close to her. She could come every day. She cooks for him, and
Well, I just got done, we got done, I've kind of been a little more involved with this client. She's not an elder, she's 45 years old.
She's very young.
She's very young, and she was told about us through a referral. She was found unconscious in her home in September. She has severe lupus. She was unconscious for a week. She was brought to a hospital in Westchester, which will remain nameless, and she developed pressure sore wounds, being unconscious for a week. In intensive care for 3 weeks, and then shipped next door to their partnering nursing home, which her bed sores continue to grow to the size that you could put your hand in them without antibiotics. So now she is sent back to this hospital last month, and she has 5 infections in the bed sores. She has a shunt in her arm. She needs surgery.
Oh dear God.
And she
Oh,
is
my God.
referred to us. So we go in literally the next day, and she said they want to do surgery, but I want to have it at my hospital in Manhattan where my lupus doctor is. So that was our goal. The
Was to get her
patient
transferred to
wants
where
to
she
be
wanted.
transferred to the hospital she wants to be at. So in the event she needs surgery, her lupus can be controlled.
Yes, and also this is a vicious cycle of what went on between the initial hospital and the
Yes.
the affiliated nursing care,
And she told
and you want to break the cycle.
And she told us, she has a voice because she's young. She said, "You can't believe what. There was a guy that just fell down dead in the dining room one day and was just lying there." So we just got her last week to the hospital of her choice.
Did you?
Where she didn't, thank God, need the surgery. But
She didn't need the surgery.
No.
But to just show you the passion of advocacy that we have, this hospital didn't care that we were hired by her. We were removed by the
They called the police.
department.
Hospital A, I assume,
Yes.
where we began.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
first of all, she's inordinately young. She's very young to have been
Right.
in her position, which is awful. But there's a silver lining that she had enough faculties about
Yes,
her
right.
to understand
She's
that there are
very
resources.
smart.
But let's break this down. So not only was she passed back and forth between 2 substandard inadequate
Correct.
facilities,
Uh,
but you finally get her transferred. I feel like you two should have capes or badges or something. I'm going to design a uniform.
Right.
And it's funny, but not funny. She could have been subjected to an unnecessary surgery, which
Right.
obviously gets billed out to an insurance company, which they're not going to see the merit in, so then they're not going to pay out everything, and then she's stuck with the
and then shipped
balance.
back to that.
And then she
nursing
shipped back to
home.
the nursing
Yeah.
home where arguably another infection would come in.
Oh wait, there's more.
Oh my God, I don't think I want to hear it. I'm outraged in my chair. You must be outraged in the booth, and you're listening.
So, when we were there, they wanted to discharge her home. The nursing home didn't want her back. Okay. So they wanted to discharge her home. Now she has 5 bacteria. She
And
infections.
they want to send her home with
Home.
that.
With a
Unsafe
shunt.
discharge.
With the shunts that she said she could do it herself to
Oh, no, I'm
to
sure
administer
it
her
sounds
own.
like she was in the proper state of mind
Totally.
at that point.
Yeah.
So they bring in. She says they say to her, "You have to bring in somebody who can do your shunt." Meanwhile, her bed sores are back here
And change her wound.
and change her wound. They said you can do it with a mirror.
Change the bed sore on your back.
Okay. So she's on how many antibiotics?
She's on 4 different IV antibiotics, morphine. It's very painful.
So then tell her you need to bring in a friend. We'll train them how to do your shunt.
Folks listening, folks watching, if there is any message today, let it be to be your own advocate. And if you can't be, hire someone.
Yeah.
Enlist your family. If you have anyone in a hospital or nursing home situation and you question the legitimacy, the way things are being done, their numbers will be available to you at the close of the show. Ask questions. If something doesn't sound right, it's not. And don't be afraid to speak up. We are talking about situations where people are being admitted to inadequate facilities, infections are happening, unnecessary surgeries are being authorized. When you're in a hospital, you are scared, you're weak for whatever reason, but there are level heads that can guide you through. Right. This is not to say all hospitals are bad or all nursing homes are bad, because there's wonderful people out there in the healthcare system. However, there are also some not so wonderful facilities and people. And I didn't know much about what you did coming in, but in 15 minutes, I certainly understand the need for you, and I commend you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
My jaw has dropped from what you've been telling me so far. And the problem becomes, again, hospitals and nursing facilities, they're for treatment, rehabilitation, and to make the person leave in a better state than they came in.
Well, that's the goal, yes.
If the protocols are not being followed and watchful eyes are not on you, you're being prematurely discharged, which is only going to lead to your guaranteed readmission.
Exactly.
Right.
And the cycle goes on and on and on, because you're going to be readmitted to the same facilities.
We bought her another week's, it was a week.
2 weeks.
Another 2 weeks stay in the hospital.
But you
They
bought
wanted
her
to do
something more than that. You bought her a different hospital facility
The
that
best
treated
hospital
her
in Manhattan.
properly.
Right.
Yes.
And, you know, the goal is to get out of the hospital. And if she
And they
didn't
fought
have,
us every step of the way.
The minute people hear, well, this particular hospital, Advocate, it's like you could see, you know, their ruffles went up.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
They were against
no
us.
one,
every
no one
step
likes
of
bad
the
press. or
But
bad
it depends on the facility, because we can talk about this when you're ready. We're doing a monitoring case.
You
And the staff at this facility is welcoming us with open arms. They've sat
Which
with us.
facility now? Where?
They're in
Yeah.
Fort Chester.
No, new case.
A new case.
Okay,
Right.
So,
Okay.
all right, that's my next question. Is part of your service, so you're the advocate once the situation has happened, you're in the facility, you're there to help
We
be
can
the
go to
one
the
for
hospital, we can
eyes
go
and
to,
ears.
from the beginning.
And I'm sure there are release forms that you sign where a family will authorize you
Yes.
to be privy to these conversations. There's no
Exactly.
HIPAA violations here. Is part of your service somewhat of a vetting system that if people are on the brink of looking for nursing home care,
Yes.
they can come to you,
Yes.
and you're independent. I mean, you don't own part of any nursing home or facility.
And we
No.
don't take any.
Makes
have
no difference
have no
to you.
contracts with
No
any
referral
facility,
fees.
Nothing.
nothing.
We're above board.
So you can give your honest opinion.
Right.
Let's talk about that part of your job. What kind of questions can people ask you, or should they start speaking to you how far in advance of being in need of the care?
We would like people to call us in advance, but it doesn't normally work out that way. But if we do,
Prepare.
right. So if, mom's in the hospital and she needs a nursing home after that, and you're busy, you're working, you don't necessarily have time. It's not that you don't care. It's just that you don't have time. So we do that. We're touring all the facilities in Westchester,
So we're
familiarizing ourselves.
Can I just interject
Yes.
one thing? So when you go into a hospital, like there's certain things that most people don't know. Sometimes the game they play now is that they keep the patient under observation
And not admitting them.
and not admitting them. But another
Key
thing is
distinction, and we'll get to that when you're done with
Yeah.
the point.
another thing is when the minute you enter a hospital, they're already working on your discharge. So they'll come to the
But
patient.
you can never get out on time. That's the part that I don't get. When you're ready to leave.
You're there right till 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Look, anyway, that's an aside.
So they'll come to the patient at 5:30 in the morning and hand them a piece of paper with 3 nursing homes
They're half
They're
asleep.
groggy.
and
Right.
say, here, pick one. You don't know what you're picking, which leads us
No, go ahead.
which
Just
leads us
continue.
to nursing homes are self-rated. There's no governing body that
Objectively rates them.
right.
There's no outside agency that objectively rates it.
So if you
So
go
if
to
you get a rating,
Medicare.gov,
you paid for a rating.
Well, they'll send you a questionnaire and fill this out, and when you really look at it, most of them say, well, all of their residents, are able to.
Nobody gets a bed sore.
No bed sores.
Nobody
needs a
incontinent.
catheter. Everybody can ambulate. There's plenty of staff. It's
Yes,
just
and you
not.
can come to the funeral home, and I can give you my rating system of nursing homes based on that in my line of work. But that's frightening.
Yes.
That's frightening.
Right.
So we will not allow our client to go to a substandard nursing home.
There's no objectivity, and again, it's the hardest thing in the world to walk out of a facility at night when your loved one is there and you want to take them home and you want to be giving the care, but it's just at a level that's exceeded what you're able to give.
You're in panic mode.
You're in panic mode, but to have peace of mind and to put your head on a pillow that night that, all right, mom or dad are there, but they're cared for, that's priceless.
Right.
But it sounds like not many people can have that full peace of mind with nursing facilities. So you have to do your homework. It's like
Right.
selecting a college, basically. You
Exactly.
know what? You don't graduate
Exactly.
high school and say, oh, okay,
This one
it's
took
July,
me.
where are we
Right.
going to go?
And we'll do the homework.
Yeah, someone else, and yes, you should always independently vet, but have
Right.
people who are entrenched in the system
Mm-hmm.
and know the questions to ask. Again, that's a very key distinction, and it's all part of an insurance game, too, because if you're under observation and you're not admitted, there's different. It affects how you can be admitted into a nursing home or what
Right.
Medicare or your insurance will pay for.
Right.
And some nursing homes will only take you after a hospital admittance. So they kind of play this game and say, okay, admit, but like you said, we're already, you're out before you're in. And they're asking you to make key decisions with no family members present.
Right.
You couldn't ask me a logical question at 5 a.m. in the
Right.
morning, and
Exactly.
I'm not on anything. But
Right.
it's really it's a scary thing. And while we don't want to alarm listeners and viewers, we want to drive the message home that enlist support and services when selecting nursing home or any type of skilled care. Do your services extend to home care, or are you strictly limited to facility care?
We extend to home care.
So
We
you
have
will vet
personally-
home care
Oh,
agencies.
Oh yeah. And we'll do drop-in
And there's
unannounced
no
visits.
licensing regulations there too. I mean, there's very different. You can open up a home care agency with no credentials, no background. I think you might be bonded with the state and fingerprinted, but that's
Right.
not really going to help after the
Right.
fact.
Right.
Correct?
We've
Correct.
heard. We had a call a few weeks ago from a woman who called us about home care, and she said the current home care aide. She walked in one day and found the woman literally, about to,
Smoke a joint.
Smoke a joint with her parents in the next room.
It's funny, but it's not funny. It's ridiculous what the stories that we're
Right.
hearing.
So
No, because again, they're not people. It's a job and it's an agency, and I see it all the time in the networks and circles that I travel. People will say, I want to come on the show. I have a home care agency. Well, no, that's not enough. I'm not going to promote something that I personally wouldn't recommend for my own family. So,
Right.
and the lack of regulation there, I have to hope that's going to change at some point, because they sprout up. I mean, it seems like that whole niche market just kind of boomed overnight. Whereas everybody had gotten into the mortgages 15 years ago.
Right, now
Well, because the
home care.
population is aging,
Yes.
that's why.
Yeah, absolutely following the crowd.
Right.
But it's good to know that there are services out there. There are objective eyes, objective ears that can guide you through this process. And again, the whole point of our show is to advocate planning ahead, to get these plans in place. And the time to make your plans is when you least need them.
correct.
When you're happy and healthy. But you know what? If you're in your late 70s, you can still be very vibrant. That's great.
Right.
But have a plan B in mind, because it takes one
Crisis,
fall,
right?
one
and it will
crisis,
happen.
and it'll change the course of your health. Something as a minor slip to the most healthy 80-year-old person will
Right.
change the course of their
Right.
health.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that life is over, but it means that you have to now shift gears and get yourself the proper care that you need to carry out the rest of your life. But if you had given some thought to what facilities you may have considered, and you consider that while you were healthy and happy, you'll
won't be this
arguably
gray
you'll come
area.
up with a
Right.
better
Right.
decision.
Right.
We do nursing home and assisted living placement, and we're not going to take a client that wants to go into an assisted living that has 3 months worth of resources left, financial resources, because that will be another change. We explore everything there.
We'll talk to them about their finances. We'll talk to them if they have their
Medical.
paperwork ready, the power of attorney,
And
the
I'm sure
healthcare
that's something
proxy.
that you help with too, making sure all the paperwork, because again, the paperwork process
Paperwork's
is a full-time
important.
job.
Very
We have a network. We're not attorneys. We have
Right.
a network of attorneys that if they don't have that in place,
You'll,
you
yes,
can
you'll,
refer
you'll
out.
network, absolutely.
that we have vetted.
How do people get in touch with you, Susie and Ruthyn, Westchester Elder My Elder Advocate?
My Elder
Right.
Advocate, so MyElderAdvocate.com. Our phone number is 914-292-0444.
Our Facebook page is My Elder Advocate Westchester.
Okay,
Um,
914-292-0444. I cannot stress enough the importance of people watching, listening to call you for any crisis that should arise.
Our email, are you interested in
Yes,
that?
that would be very well.
Westchester@myeldradvocate.com.
Westchester@MyElderAdvocate.com.
Right.
Facebook page, My Elder Advocate.
Westchester.
Westchester.
Yeah.
And your website, My Elder.
Westchester.myeldradvocate.com.
And one other thing, like we are a franchise, so we have the entire county of Westchester. Wherever there is not a current franchisee, we can assist clients there. So for example,
Broadreach.
Fairfield, Rockland, Manhattan.
You could run the gamut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ladies, I thank you for the great work
Thank
you're
you so
doing.
much.
Please
Thank you so
keep
much.
it up.
Appreciate it.
And you'll be featured in a publication coming out,
Yes.
Coming of Age,
Coming
and
of Age.
we'll be talking about that. So I look forward to reading what you've contributed.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
And this is Jen Graziano thanking you for taking the time to listen as we took the time to talk. Have a great day, Westchester.